Hey, this is PJ with CLK Supplies and welcome to How to Get It Done Locksmith Tips. HPC code machines. They've been the backbone of the lock and key industry for cutting edge style keys by code for years. But what happens if you misplace or lose an existing card? What happens if the code you look up to cut doesn't have a card available? Well, the good news is that if you use code software programs like GeneraCode, Instacode, or the HPC code source, they all have the ability for you to print in the software on your own printer the card that you need for that code. Now, if you don't use one of those programs, you can also use the Card Express program or the HPC cardware software to print out those cards. But the real question is when you print them out and you go to use them to cut the key by code, do they really work? Are they accurate? And can you rely on them to get that key cut? I went ahead and I printed a card out on basic paper, and I also printed one out on cardstock. Let's go ahead, cut them up, put them in the machine, and see just how accurate and easy to use they are. Alright, so I went ahead and I cut this H75 key 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3 for the 8 different spaces and depths. Alright, so I know this key is cut accurately, and what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll pull this original card out and we'll cut up first this paper one. Now I use the GeneraCode software to print this out. So we'll go ahead and let's get cutting on this. And now it's real important, I really want to note, is I'm going to try my best to cut a straight line, especially here at the bottom, because if I do it a little bit of at an angle and it's uneven, it's not going to sit in the machine right, which is going to lead to keys being cut wrong, right? So let's go ahead and start cutting on this guy here. Now I'm going to try my best to do this, and I'll let you guys be the judge in the comments here how well I did. Now I'm trying to get right on the black line here. Let's see. Now we'll obviously know if it's too wide, it's not going to fit in there, and we'll have to trim it up. So that's the best part about doing this live like this. So let's see. Now, if you had a paper cutter, obviously that'd be a great thing to use, but probably in a real world situation, you're trying to help a customer, and finding a paper cutter is probably not top priority here. Okay, so what we'll do now is I'm just going to cut this little part here, and let's go ahead and put it in and see how it does. All right. Cut that little piece off. Now you can see, is it perfect? No. I mean, it looks like I did a pretty good job down here and on the sides. Now, I want to just kind of bend this bottom piece a little bit to try to get past these two needles, right? These two needles down here are always the struggle with these type of cards. So I'm going to just try to put a little bend on it, just ever so slightly. Let's go ahead and try to get it put in here. Let me move this needle off to the side, so hopefully we can get it. Yep, there we go. Okay, so we got past the two needles. And we're going to go ahead and get it put in here. Okay. So as you can see, it's fitting in here. It's not going quite low enough, right? So let's just pull it out real quick. And I got to trim a little more off the bottom here. I'm going to get rid of that black line entirely. All right, so that looks pretty good. And then it looks like I have a little white showing on the side here, so let's get that cleaned up. Okay. Let's go and put it back in. Wish I could push that down. Getting those needles, that little small needle past it can be a little tricky. Just kind of move it around a little bit. There we go. All right. Okay, now it's sitting like it should. All right, those needles are all the way on those little dots there.
And so is what we'll do. Let's just go to, I don't know, let's go to depth. There's space 4, which should be a number 4 depth, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and just bring this up here. And I'm going to check it right on here. Okay. Now it's pretty close. It's pretty close, all right? The spacing from this card seems to be just a hair off, but it's pretty good. I would say the odds of the key working are going to be really high, okay? So we do that, yep. So that's just perfect right there. All right, so let's do one more space here. Let's go to number space 6, which should be a 1. Yep, let's see, let's get right here to 1. There we go. Okay, so it's a little, I mean, it's a hair past the 1, but I think that would definitely still work. So this is what it looks like when you cut just a normal piece of paper, the card out on it, and try to get it put in, right? It's going to be a little struggle to get it put in there and to get it lined up accurately, but you are going to be able to cut a key. Now, how long would this last? I mean, this is probably a 1 or 2 use type of a card right here, all right? Now, let's move on to the cardstock. Now, I printed it on a laser jet printer. I've really never been a fan of inkjet printers because when you get them wet, they smear. All right, so the problem, though, with the laser jets is when they come out, you can see this paper is a little bit of at an angle, right? So you have to kind of compensate that by going back the other way a little bit. But let's go ahead and cut this out, and let's see how it works. Now, I will say it is a little easier to cut. And the thickness of this card here is pretty similar to the actual HPC card that you get with the machine. I'll bring this around. Once again, I'm trying to keep it as straight as I can with using a pair of scissors here. All right, get this little guy cut there, and we'll cut out this middle piece for you to up here. Okay, so here we go. Now, you can see, I mean, it's not incredibly flat. It's not good that the very bottom of this card is, excuse me, flipping up a little bit. So once again, we want to kind of just angle it down ever so slightly like that. Let's go ahead and let's see how I did here. All right, so if you notice, it was much easier to put in than the piece of paper because it's a little thicker, it's a little heavier, and it's lining up. Now you can see it's right, it looks just about perfect there on how a OEM card is going to look. So once again, let's go over here let's go to space 4, and let's check it. So that should be a number 4 depth. So we'll go right there. Let's see. Yep. Okay. So yeah, this I feel is a little more accurate than the paper one so far, at least on this one. Now let's back it off and let's go to number 7, which should be a 2. And let's take a look here and see. Let's see. Let me back it off to where it spins. Yeah. Yeah, so I'd say this one on the cardstock is definitely a little more accurate. Now that I'm doing this one, I feel like maybe on the paper one here, I feel like maybe it was how I cut the bottom was a little off compared to how this one is feeling. So yeah, so, you know, I think at the end of the day, these printout cards are going to be able to get you through the job. One like this, if you cut it right, is going to do a real good job on lasting much longer. Let me grab this other one here. Kind of see the difference between them. And yeah, so I think it's safe to say by printing out your own card and using it, if you're going to use paper, as long as you cut it right, you should be able to get the job done with it. The cardstock definitely works a little better. Well, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.